If you listen closely to the hum of the fluorescent lights in this building, you can actually hear the sound of human souls slowly evaporating. I've been the senior logistics coordinator at Apex Global Solutions for 15 years. In corporate speak, that means I'm the person who knows where the bodies are buried, how much it costs to ship them to Guam, and which customs forms you need to declare them as agricultural equipment. I've survived 3 mergers, 5 CEOs, and a breakroom microwave that has been radiating a smell I can only describe as burnt popcorn mixed with despair since the Obama administration. I am the invisible glue. I am the reason things arrive. Then there's Jessica. Jessica is my new manager. She's 28 years old, holds a degree in communications with a minor in vibes, and is the niece of a board member. She walks around the office in click-clack heels that cost more than my Honda Civic, holding a latte like it's a scepter. Jessica doesn't know what a bill of lading is. She thinks FOB destination is a fall fashion trend. She calls me into her office 3 times a day to convert a Word document into a PDF because Adobe is being spicy today. This wouldn't be a problem. I'm used to babysitting executives who think logistics is just magic elves putting boxes on trucks, except for one thing, the Vance account. Mr. Vance is our biggest client. He runs a manufacturing empire that supplies critical heavy machinery parts to half the Midwest. He is a man who speaks in grunts and spreadsheets. He doesn't care about our company culture, he doesn't care about our synergy, and he certainly doesn't care about Jessica's vision board. He cares that his steel bearings arrive in Detroit on Tuesday, not Tuesday-ish. His contract is up for renewal in 2 weeks. It represents 40% of our department's revenue. Losing it would turn this office into a Spirit Halloween store by November. Brenda, I need you to judge up the quarterly report, Jessica told me yesterday, leaning over my cubicle wall, smelling of vanilla bean and incompetence. Mr. Vance needs to see our growth mindset. The numbers look a little dusty. Can we make them pop? Maybe use that font that looks like handwriting. I took a slow sip of my lukewarm coffee, the kind that tastes like battery acid and regret. Jessica, the numbers are dusty because shipments to the Cleveland hub were delayed by 3 days due to the rail strike. Mr. Vance doesn't want fonts. He wants to know why he paid for expedited shipping on containers that sat in a rail yard. You're being so negative, Brenda, she sighed, rolling her eyes. It's about the narrative. We need to control the narrative. If we just manifest success, the client will feel that energy. Also, can you fix the printer? It's blinking red and it's stressing me out. I watched her walk away, and I felt that familiar tightening in my chest, the primal urge to throw a stapler through a drywall partition. She was going to walk into a meeting with a shark like Vance armed with nothing but buzzwords and a smile. And when the shark bit, I knew exactly who she was going to use as a human shield. By the way, before I get into how this train wreck went off the rails, if you enjoy stories about corporate idiots getting absolutely destroyed by the people they underestimate, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button, maybe drop a like. It keeps the caffeine flowing and helps me document the madness. Much appreciated. Now, back to the impending disaster. The office atmosphere in the days leading up to the meeting was toxic. The air conditioner was broken, stuck on Arctic blast, so we were all shivering in our polyester blends. Jessica spent her time printing out inspirational quotes and taping them to the conference room walls. Teamwork makes the dream work, one said. Another, crookedly pasted near the door, read, leadership is action, not position. The irony was so thick you could cut it with a box cutter. I tried to show her the actual data. I tried to walk her through the variance reports. I printed out the heat maps of our shipping routes. She pushed them aside. Brenda, stop drowning me in details. I'm a big picture thinker. You handle the weeds, I handle the sky. The problem with staring at the sky, Jessica, is that you don't see the open manhole cover you're about to walk into. And the problem for me was that I was tied to her ankle with a rope made of pension benefits and a mortgage. I knew, deep down in my bones, that judging up the numbers wasn't just about fonts. It was about hiding something. I just didn't know how bad it was yet. 2 days before the presentation, the big picture started to look a lot like a felony. Jessica had finally emailed me her draft of the presentation. I opened the file, expecting bad formatting. What I found was fiction. Pure, unadulterated fantasy. According to her charts, our on-time delivery rate was 98%. In reality, it was hovering around 84% because of the rail issues. But that wasn't the kicker. The kicker was the inventory reconciliation page. There was a line item for miscellaneous adjustments. It was a catch-all category usually reserved for broken pallet or a lost box of pens. Jessica had listed it at $12,000. I frowned, adjusted my reading glasses, and pulled up the raw data from the ERP system, the system Jessica didn't know how to log into. I ran a query for the actual missing inventory code. My screen blinked, processed, and spit out a number that made my stomach drop into my orthopedic shoes. The real number wasn't $12,000. It was $145,000. $145,000 of high-grade industrial valves were unaccounted for. Gone, poof, and Jessica had just erased them. She had massaged the spreadsheet cells until the red ink turned black. This wasn't manifesting success. This was fraud. I printed the real report. The paper felt heavy in my hand, like I was holding a loaded gun. I marched to her office. She was on the phone, laughing about her weekend plans for brat summer or whatever the hell people her age do. She waved me in, pointing to a chair without breaking eye contact with her reflection in the window. When she hung up, she smiled. "Did you see the slides? The color palette is so calming, right, Jessica?" I said, my voice steady but cold. "We need to talk about slide 7, the inventory adjustment." "Oh, that? Yeah, I just smoothed it out. The client doesn't need to worry about internal glitches. We'll find that stuff eventually. It's probably just misplaced in the warehouse." "It's 145 grand, Jessica. You can't smooth out the cost of a luxury sedan. If Mr. Vance audits us, and he will, he's going to see that we falsified the ledger. This isn't a glitch. This is cooking the books." Her smile didn't falter, but her eyes went dead. It was like looking at a shark that had just spotted blood in the water. "Brenda, I don't think you understand how this works. My job is to ensure this contract renews. If we show them a loss like that, they walk. If they walk, everyone in this department loses their jobs, including you. Are you telling me you want to be unemployed at 54 because of a clerical error?" She emphasized 54 like it was a terminal diagnosis. "It's not a clerical error," I insisted. "It's missing product. We have to report it as a discrepancy and initiate a claim. If we hide it, it's embezzlement by omission." Jessica stood up. She wasn't tall, but she had the terrifying confidence of someone who has never been told no in her life. "I am the manager of this department. I have approved the final figures. You are the coordinator. Your job is to coordinate what I tell you to coordinate. I am overriding your access to the final report file. I've asked Kevin, the intern, to handle the final polish. He's much more flexible." She leaned over the desk. "Do not touch the presentation, Brenda. Do not speak to the client, and fix your attitude. You're bringing the vibe down." I walked back to my cubicle, my hands shaking, not from fear but from rage. She had just locked me out of the system. She was going to use Kevin, a kid who thought net 30 meant a tennis score, to commit fraud. I sat down and stared at my monitors, the fan in my computer tower whirred, sounding like a dying aircraft engine. I had a choice. I could keep my head down, let her crash the car, and hope I didn't die in the wreckage, or I could protect myself. I opened a hidden folder on my personal drive. I named it the receipts. I started downloading everything. Every email where she refused to look at the data. Every raw shipping log. The timestamped screenshots of the inventory before she smoothed it. If she wanted to cook the books, fine. I was going to make sure I had a copy of the original recipe. That afternoon, I entered what I call the ghost mode. To the naked eye, I was just Brenda, aggressively typing emails and occasionally sighing at the coffee machine. But in reality, I was conducting a forensic audit that would make the IRS blush. Jessica had revoked my edit access to the presentation, but she was too stupid to realize she hadn't revoked my read-only access to the back-end shipping manifests. She thought deleting a line in Excel made the physical object disappear from the face of the earth. She didn't understand that every pallet has a barcode, every barcode has a scan history, and every scan history has a GPS tag. I traced the missing valves. They hadn't been lost. They had been shipped. According to the system, they left our secondary warehouse in Toledo 3 weeks ago. The destination was listed as Vance Manufacturing Plant B. But when I looked at the carrier logs, the actual trucking data, the GPS coordinates didn't match Plant B. They matched a storage unit facility in a sketchy industrial park off I-75. Why would we ship $145,000 of inventory to a self-storage lot? I needed confirmation. I couldn't call Vance, that was too risky. I needed a back channel. I picked up the phone and dialed Marge. Marge is Mr. Vance's executive assistant. She is a woman made of iron and hairspray who has been gatekeeping Vance since the 90s. We have a bond forged in the fires of Christmas logistical nightmares. Apex Solutions, Brenda speaking, I said, using my professional voice while typing furiously on a sticky note. "Brenda," Marge rasped. She sounds like she smokes unfiltered cigarettes while eating gravel. "If this is about the meeting, tell your Tinkerbell boss that Mr. Vance is in a mood. He chewed out a vendor this morning for using the wrong staple gauge." "Marge, listen to me." I lowered my voice, glancing over the cubicle wall. Jessica was busy taking a selfie with a potted plant. "This is off the record. Strictly between us girls. Did Plant B receive a shipment of Type 4 valves on the 12th? PO number 7789? Silence on the line. I heard the clicking of keys. "Negative, Brenda, we've been screaming for those valves. Your tracking said delayed. Why?" "Just checking a glitch on our end," I lied smoothly. "You know how the new software is." "I smell smoke, Brenda," Marge said. "Vance hates smoke." "I know, Marge. I'm just checking the fire extinguishers. I'll see you Thursday." I hung up. So the client never got them. The system said they did. The truck went to a storage unit. I did a quick public records search on the address of the storage unit. It was rented to an LLC called JLux Enterprises. A quick search of the LLC registration, thank you State Secretary of State website, showed the registered agent. Tyler J. Miller? I froze. I knew that name. I had seen it on the glittery save the date card tacked to the corkboard in the break room. Tyler Miller was Jessica's husband. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just incompetence. This was embezzlement. Jessica was diverting product to a shell company, probably to resell it on the gray market, and writing it off as lost or delayed in the company books. She was stealing from Mr. Vance to fund her lifestyle, and she was forcing me to help her cover it up. I looked across the office at her. She was laughing at something on her phone, twirling a strand of hair. She looked so harmless, just a corporate girlie trying to survive. But beneath that fast fashion blazer was a criminal. I saved the LLC documents to my the receipts folder. I backed everything up to a thumb drive. I put the thumb drive in my bra. I wasn't taking any chances. The war had started. She just didn't know I was the only one with ammunition. Thursday morning arrived with the subtlety of a migraine. The sky was a bruised purple, and the rain slashed against the office windows like it was trying to break in. I wore my battle armor, a navy blue pantsuit I bought at Macy's 5 years ago that makes me look like a disapproving judge. I arrived early, but Jessica was already there. She was manic, rearranging the chairs in the conference room, vibrating with caffeine and nerves. Brenda, she chirped, her voice an octave too high. Good morning. Okay, so, change of plans. She walked over to me and physically took the stack of folders I was holding. These were the backup packets, the ones containing the actual, unvarnished data I had prepared just in case. We're not using these, she said, tossing them onto a side table like they were trash. I printed fresh copies of the final deck. Kevin put them in these cute binders with the clear covers. It looked so much cleaner. I looked at the binders. They were filled with fluff. Colorful charts that meant nothing, stock photos of smiling warehouse workers, and the falsified numbers. Jessica, I said quietly, Mr. Vance is going to ask about the valves. You know he is. I'll handle Vance, she snapped, her smile vanishing. She stepped into my personal space. Here is your role today, Brenda. You sit at the end of the table, you take notes. If he asks a technical question, you give a vague, positive answer and defer to me. You do not go into the weeds, you do not bring up the delay, you smile, you nod, and you let me close the deal. Do we understand each other? I understand, I said, and I did. I understood that she was digging her own grave and asking me to hold the shovel. Good. Now go get the coffee service ready. He likes the dark roast. I was being relegated to a waitress in a meeting I should be leading. I walked out to the reception area. Boiling, my thumb drive was burning a hole against my skin. At 9:55 a.m., the elevator doors slid open. Mr. Vance stepped out. He's a man who looks like he was carved out of granite and left out in the rain. He wore a gray suit that cost more than my house, and he carried a battered leather briefcase. Marge trailed behind him, looking like a hitman's grandmother. Vance scanned the room. His eyes landed on the receptionist, terrified, the ficus plant dusty. Finally me, he stopped. He didn't smile. Vance doesn't smile, but he gave me a look. It was a micro-expression, a slight tilt of the chin, a narrowing of the eyes. It was the look of a man entering a room he suspects is booby-trapped, looking for his only ally. I didn't say a word, I couldn't. Jessica was watching from the conference room doorway. I just held his gaze for 2 seconds. Then I gave a single, almost imperceptible nod. I'm here, I'm watching. Be ready. Vance's grip on his briefcase tightened slightly. He understood. Mr. Vance, Jessica squealed, rushing out with her hand extended. Welcome, we are so excited to show you our vision for the next fiscal year. He looked at her hand like it was a dead fish, then shook it briefly. Let's get on with it, he grumbled. I have a lunch in Toledo. We filed into the conference room. Jessica took the head of the table. Vance sat opposite. I sat at the far end, the designated mute. Jessica opened her binder. So she began, flashing a blinding smile. At Apex, we don't just move boxes, we move dreams. Vance let out a sigh that sounded like a tire losing air. I opened my notebook, uncapped my pen, and waited for the slaughter. The first 20 minutes were excruciating. Jessica presented slides that had more clip art than data. She used words like synergistic velocity and holistic fulfillment. Vance sat there like a statue, his face unreadable, slowly tapping his heavy gold pen against the mahogany table. Tap, 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 it was a countdown. And here Jessica said, beaming as she flipped to the fatal slide, you can see our efficiency metrics. We've achieved a 98% on-time delivery rate and our inventory shrinkage is practically zero. We are running a tighter ship than ever. The tapping stopped. Vance looked at the slide. Then he looked at Jessica. Zero shrinkage, he asked. His voice was low, a rumble of thunder before the storm. Basically zero, Jessica chirped, just standard adjustments. Peanuts, really. Vance slowly opened his own folder. He pulled out a sheet of paper. That's interesting. Because my floor manager in Detroit says we are missing a shipment of Type 4 valves, a shipment worth $145,000. He says your system shows them delivered, but we never signed for them. Jessica didn't flinch. Had rehearsed this lie. Oh, that. Yes, we looked into that. It was a carrier scanning error. The drivers often scan early. They are actually en route right now. They'll be there by tomorrow morning, guaranteed. She lied with such ease it was breathtaking. She was gambling that she could scramble and buy the replacements on the gray market or simply delay him until she could blame a trucking accident. Vance turned his head slowly. He didn't look at Jessica. He looked down the long table, directly at me. Brenda, he said, is that true? Are the valves en route? The room went silent, the air conditioner hummed. Jessica shot me a look that was pure venom, a warning. Stick to the script, nod, smile. I stood up, my knees popped. I felt a strange sense of calm wash over me. I was done carrying the water. I was done hiding the bodies. No, Mr. Vance, I said clearly, they are not en route. Jessica's head whipped around. Brenda, I ignored her. I opened my notebook. The valves were scanned delivered 3 weeks ago. But the GPS coordinates do not match your facility. They match a storage unit in Lucas County. Brenda, Jessica stood up, her face flushing a blotchy red. That is outdated data. You are confusing the client. I have the carrier logs right here. I continued, my voice gaining strength. The goods were diverted. They are currently sitting in Unit 404 at JLux Enterprises. Halfway through my report, my manager slammed the table. Stop talking, she screamed. You are making US look incompetent. The slap of her hand against the wood echoed like a gunshot. Her mask had slipped completely. She wasn't the Vibes manager anymore, she was a cornered animal. You are out of line, Jessica yelled, pointing a manicured finger at my face. Get out of this meeting right now, I will handle this. The room went dead silent. Jessica was panting slightly. She looked at Vance, forcing a terrified smile. I am so sorry, Mr. Vance. Brenda is. She's been having some personal issues. She's confused, I'll take it from here. I closed my notebook calmly. I didn't look at Jessica, I looked at Vance. He hadn't moved. He was watching Jessica with the cold curiosity of a scientist observing a bacteria sample. I picked up my pen. I'll leave you to it, I said. I turned and walked toward the door. The sound of my sensible heels on the carpet was the only noise in the room. As I reached the handle, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I stepped into the hallway and pulled it out, a text message. From Vance client, step out, she's about to learn. Check your email in 5 mins. I looked back through the glass wall. Jessica was talking rapidly, waving her hands, trying to salvage the wreckage. Vance was just staring at her, a small, cruel smile finally touching his lips. Wasn't trapped in there with her. She was trapped in there with him. I didn't even make it back to my desk to get my purse before Paul, the security guard, intercepted me. Paul is a sweet guy who usually smuggles me extra donuts, but today he wouldn't meet my eyes. I'm sorry, Brenda, he mumbled. Jessica called the front desk. She said you're to be escorted off the premises immediately. Gross insubordination or something. It's okay, Paul, I said, patting his arm. He just grabbed my coat, she said. She said you can't go back to your desk. She said she'll have your things boxed up and mailed to you. You have to go now, I laughed, a dry, harsh sound. She was terrified I'd log back in and download more evidence. She didn't know the thumb drive was already nestled against my left lung. I walked out into the rain. I sat in my 2014 Honda Civic, the fabric seat smelling like old commute coffee. The adrenaline was fading, replaced by the cold, hard reality of mortgage payments. I was 54 years old. I had just nuked my career. Who hires a whistleblower logistics coordinator? My phone pinged, an email notification. From HR automated system subject, notice of termination effective immediately. There it was. Done. I stared at the screen, watching a raindrop trace a path down the glass. I felt hollow. Then the phone rang. It wasn't a local number. It was a Detroit area code. Hello? Brenda, the gravelly voice said. It's Vance. I sat up straighter in the driver's seat. Mr. Vance, I want to apologize for the scene in there. I didn't mean to. Shut up, Brenda. He cut me off, but there was no malice in it. You didn't cause a scene. You prevented a larceny. I've suspected something was wrong with your shipping accounts for months. The math didn't add up, but I couldn't prove it from the outside. I needed someone on the inside to confirm the storage unit theory. You knew? I asked, stunned. I suspected. When you gave me the nod in the hallway, I knew you were ready to drop the hammer. And when you read those coordinates, that was poetry. I heard the sound of a car door closing on his end. Listen, I just fired Apex. I terminated the contract for cause, fraud, and breach of trust. Their stock is going to tank by tomorrow morning. I see, I stammered. Well, I guess we're both out of a job then. Hardly, Vance grunted. I have a mess to clean up. I need to audit the last 2 years of Apex's billing to see how much she stole. I don't trust their internal people. I need an outside consultant. Someone who knows their system better than they do. Someone who hates bullshit. My heart skipped a beat. I'm offering you a contract, Brenda. Independent auditor. You report directly to me. Your rate is triple what they were paying you. And your first assignment is to go back into that building and find every dime that woman stole from me. I looked at the Apex building through the rain-streaked windshield. I saw the lights of the conference room on the 3rd floor. Jessica was probably in there right now, spinning some new lie, thinking she had won because she got rid of me. Triple? I asked. Plus expenses, Vance said. I want you back there on Monday. But this time, you don't work for them, you own them. A slow smile spread across my face. I'll need a badge, I said. You'll have it, Vance replied. Welcome to the team, Brenda. Happy hunting. Monday morning. The sun was shining. The birds were singing. And I walked into the Apex lobby wearing a new suit, cream-colored, sharp, expensive. Paul, the security guard, stood up, looking confused. Brenda, I thought, didn't they? Morning, Paul, I smiled, handing him a box of the expensive donuts from the bakery downtown. Not here as an employee, I'm a visitor. I slapped my new visitor badge on the scanner. It didn't beep, it chimed. Vance Industries external auditor. I took the elevator up to the third floor. When the doors opened, the office was in chaos. People were running around with boxes. The rumor of the contract cancellation had hit. Panic was in the air. I walked straight past my old cubicle. It was empty, my family photos were gone. I didn't care. I walked straight to the glass-walled conference room adjacent to Jessica's office. I set my briefcase down on the table, took out my laptop, and opened the blinds so I had a clear view of her desk. Jessica looked up. She froze. Her face went the color of cottage cheese. She stormed out of her office, her heels clicking aggressively. "What are you doing here?" she hissed, stopping at the door of the conference room. "I fired you." "Security? Why is she here?" "Sit down," Jessica said, not looking up from my screen. "Excuse me, you are trespassing. I'm calling the police." Actually, a deep voice boomed from behind her. It was the CEO of Apex, a man who usually only appeared to fire people or announce budget cuts. He looked tired. "She has every right to be here, Jessica." Jessica spun around. What? She was insubordinate. She lied to the client. "Mr. Vance has hired Brenda as the lead auditor for the fraud investigation," the CEO said, looking at Jessica with a mixture of disgust and exhaustion. "As part of our settlement agreement to avoid a lawsuit, we have granted her full access to our records. She has more authority in this building right now than I do. Give her whatever she wants." The CEO walked away. Jessica stood there, mouth open, looking like a fish that had jumped into a boat. I smiled at her. It was a predatory smile. "I'm going to need your login credentials, Jessica. Your email archives. Oh, and coffee, black, 2 sugars." She turned and ran into her office, slamming the door. 10 minutes later, I had the IT guys in the room. Dave and Steve. They were the basement dwellers of the company, guys who were treated like furniture by people like Jessica. They loved me because I always submitted my tickets correctly. "Hey, Brenda." Ma'am," Dave said, looking at my badge. "What do you need?" "She's deleting things, Dave," I said, gesturing to Jessica's office where she was frantically typing. "I need you to mirror her hard drive to my server. Real time, and I need you to restore the backups from last Thursday." Dave grinned. "We backed up her drive the second she fired you. We figured you'd be back, or the feds would be." "Good boys," I said, "let's dig." For the next 6 hours, I sat in that fishbowl, dissecting her life. I watched through the glass as she sweated. Every time she looked up, I was there, watching, calculating. I found the emails to her husband. I found the fake invoices. I found the consulting fees paid to her own shell company. It wasn't just the valves. It was toner cartridges. It was pallets of copper wire. It was thousands of dollars in team-building lunches that were just her and her friends getting margaritas. She wasn't just a bad manager. She was a parasite, and I was the exterminator. By Wednesday, the noose was tight. I had compiled a 40-page dossier. The shadow log I had kept on my personal drive was now exhibit in a criminal investigation. Jessica knew it was over. You could see it in the way she walked, shoulders hunched, eyes darting around. She had stopped wearing the click-clack heels. She was wearing flats like she needed to be ready to run. Around 2 p.m., I went to the ladies' room. I was washing my hands when the door opened and Jessica slipped in. She locked it behind her. "Brenda," she said, her voice was trembling. All the boss babe energy was gone. She looked like a scared kid. "Jessica," I said, drying my hands with a paper towel. "Look, I know things look bad," she started, leaning against the sinks, "but you have to understand. Tyler, my husband, he got into some debt, gambling stuff, bad people. We needed the money. I was going to pay it back, I swear. I just needed to float it for a few months." She reached out, trying to touch my arm. I took a step back. "Please, Brenda, you're a woman. You understand doing anything for family. If this comes out, I go to jail. Tyler goes to jail. Can't we just lose the file? I can get you money. I can get you a job at corporate. Just delete the carrier logs." I looked at her, really looked at her. I saw the manipulation. She wasn't sorry she stole. She was sorry she got caught. She was still trying to bribe me, still trying to make me an accomplice. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. The voice memo app was running. The red waveform was pulsing. "You just admitted to embezzlement and attempted bribery," I said, holding the phone up. "And you implicated your husband." Her face twisted. The fear vanished, replaced by pure, ugly hate. "You bitch, you bitter, old, dried-up bitch. You planned this. You wanted my job." "I didn't want your job, Jessica," I said calmly, stopping the recording. "I wanted you to do yours, but you were too busy playing pretend." I walked past her. She grabbed my arm. "You can't do this." I pulled my arm away. "It's already done. I sent the preliminary report to the board and Mr. Vance 10 minutes ago. They're waiting for us in the boardroom." I unlocked the door and walked out. The boardroom was full. The CEO, the CFO, the head of legal, and Mr. Vance via video link all had copies of my report. The shadow log was projected on the screen. It showed the side-by-side comparison, the fake numbers vs. the real numbers. Jessica walked in a moment later. She looked at the screen. She saw the LLC registration for JLux Enterprises. She saw her husband's signature. She didn't scream. She didn't fight. She just deflated. She sank into a chair, looking very small. "Jessica," the CEO said. His voice was like a gavel. "We have the police waiting in the lobby. We suggest you cooperate." I sat at the end of the table, the same spot where she had told me to sit and be quiet a week ago. But this time, everyone was looking at me. Brenda, the CEO, said, "This is thorough, disturbingly thorough. I take my job seriously, sir," I said. "Logistics is about knowing where things are." I knew where the money was. Mr. Vance laughed on the video screen. A dry, rasping bark. "She's a killer. Told you?" The walk of shame is a corporate cliche, but seeing Jessica escorted out in handcuffs was something else entirely. It wasn't triumphant, it was just sad. She was crying, her mascara running, screaming something about how it was all a misunderstanding. Her husband, Tyler, had been picked up at the storage unit an hour earlier. The office was silent as the police led her away. No one filmed it. No one laughed. We just watched the ghost of a career leave the building. I packed up my laptop. My work was done. The audit was complete. Vance had his money back, or at least the insurance claim was solid. "Brenda, wait," the CEO caught me by the elevators. "Sir?" "Look, we made a mistake," he said, running a hand through his thinning hair. "Letting you go, letting her run things, it was a mistake. We want you back, senior manager of logistics. A raise, corner office. We need someone with integrity to rebuild the department." I looked at him. A week ago, I would have killed for that offer. I would have framed it. But standing there in my cream suit with a check from Vance Industries in my purse that was worth 6 months of my old salary, I felt different. I realized I didn't want to fix their mess. I didn't want to be the glue anymore. "I appreciate the offer," I said, "but I think I've outgrown this place." "We can match Vance's offer," he pressed. "It's not about the money," I lied. "It was a little bit about the money. It's about the respect. I'm starting my own consulting firm. Mr. Vance is my first retainer. If you need help fixing your supply chain, you can hire me. My rate is on the website." The elevator dinged. I stepped in. "Goodbye, sir." I walked out to the parking lot. The rain had stopped. The air smelled like wet asphalt and freedom. As I approached my Honda, I saw a tow truck backing up. It was hooking up Jessica's white BMW. I guess the lease payments were tied to that corporate card I had flagged. The driver, a burly guy in a grease-stained jumpsuit, looked at me. "You know the owner?" I looked at the car. I looked at the empty passenger seat where she used to put her Starbucks cups. "Nope," I said, unlocking my door. "Never met her." I got in my car. I started the engine. It still made that weird rattling noise, but today it sounded like music. I rolled down the windows, turned up the radio, some classic rock station playing Tom Petty, and drove out of the lot. I didn't look back at the building. I didn't look back at the flickering lights or the soul-crushing cubicles. I just merged onto the highway, heading toward Detroit for a meeting with Vance. Turns out, you don't need to control the narrative. You just need to control the spreadsheets, and maybe keep a shadow log, just in case. You're the real MVPs of the office jungle. Thanks for watching. Smash that subscribe button, or the coffee pot might just forget your next brew.